The most emotional footage of the Romanian dictator's family. Elena Ceausescu burst into a scream, demanding to be executed alongside her husband.
The 25-year reign of Romania's Red Emperor was brought to an end by revolution.
The December 1989 uprising began with an ethnic conflict in Timișoara, mainly inhabited by Hungarians. A local court ordered dissident pastor László Tokes to be relocated. Local Hungarians stood up for him, soon joined by Romanians. The protest against the court ruling grew into a revolt with anti-communist and anti-government slogans. Government buildings were attacked. Then came gunfire between demonstrators and security forces. Ceausescu demanded tougher measures to crush the protests. The army was called in to assist the police. The dictator believed the Timișoara uprising was orchestrated by Moscow's intelligence services. The Balkan Stalin was long known for disputes with the Soviet Union. He denounced the Kremlin for tanks in Prague and the Afghanistan invasion.
On December 20, 1989, Ceausescu told the acting Soviet charge d'affaires that the Timișoara events were planned and backed by Warsaw Pact countries. He also insisted that actions against Romania were coordinated by the unified Warsaw Pact.
When Defense Minister Nicolae refused to fire on Timișoara demonstrators, he was replaced by the more resolute Victor Stanculescu. He gave the order for the military to fire on protesters. The crackdown killed around 1,000 people. Later, Stanculescu let slip that Soviet military intelligence units had operated in Timișoara. The GRU was meant to intensify chaos in the region and provoke mass outrage over the bloodshed. This supports the theory that intelligence services helped escalate Romania's crisis.
Special circumstances are needed to ignite a revolution. And if needed, they must be fabricated. Intelligence agencies sometimes use a script to make staged events seem credible. I am not claiming the initial Timișoara protests were artificial, but some operations manipulated events from start to finish.
Official propaganda stayed silent on the Western uprising's suppression. However, Romanians had long turned to Hungarian, Soviet, and American radio stations. Their signals were picked up at night on car radios near the border. Ceausescu's willingness to fire on his own people finally tipped the public, who already blamed him for their suffering. In 1989, Romania was at the bottom of an economic crisis. Ceausescu's plan to repay nearly $20 billion in foreign debt bankrupted the country. To raise funds, the dictator cut costs at the population's expense. Under extreme austerity, all exportable goods, even cheaply, were sent abroad. As a result, electricity and water were rationed. Food was distributed by coupons. Store shelves were empty. A bar of soap became the most cherished gift. The country was gripped by fear, fueled by the secret police, Securitate. People said that if you saw 3 people talking on the street, one of them was surely reporting to the authorities. In villages, people celebrated when a car ran over a chicken, avoiding meat taxes. In such conditions, the events in Timișoara became the spark that ignited a massive blaze. When Ceausescu learned of Bucharest unrest, he followed Stanculescu's advice and called a large rally to show regime support. The minor defense minister was trusted by both Ceausescu and his powerful wife. She had previously helped advance Stanculescu's career, and some claimed he was not only her favorite but also her lover. On December 21, Bucharest Center was covered with regime banners and posters. The central TV channel aired the president's meeting with the people. At first, the crowd applauded Ceausescu and his entourage on the balcony. But then, in response to his pompous speech, chants of Timișoara and "Down with the dictator" erupted. No one had expected this. Ceausescu fell silent. The cameraman panicked, and the camera shook. The entire country witnessed the regime's panic live on air. By day's end in Bucharest, gunfire broke out between demonstrators and security forces. The army was sent in to assist. Armored vehicles and tanks entered the city. Not all soldiers obeyed the order to fire on civilians. Gradually, the military began to side with the demonstrators.
He used soldiers to plug the gaps. We served under appalling conditions. We were constantly sent on non-military tasks, building officials' summer homes, working fields, digging trenches. And we were never paid. Ceausescu treated the army like a stepchild, so it is no surprise that the soldiers quickly refused to defend such a ruler.
Ceausescu grew more panicked. He realized he couldn't quickly stop the demonstrators, now joined by military. To plan, he needed to coordinate with the loyal generals. At the urging of Stănculescu, he agreed to flee Bucharest for one of his command posts. These frames show the helicopter lifting off from the government building. But it does not get far. The pilot is told that Stănculescu has closed the airspace. Simply put, the helicopter will be shot down unless it lands immediately. And it touches down in an open field. Ceausescu, his wife, and their bodyguards are forced to hitchhike to reach one of the remaining loyal security units. During this escape, Ceausescu's nerves finally collapse. He cries intermittently. In footage after his arrest, the despair of the so-called genius of the Carpathians is clear. Nothing remains of the all-powerful president. From the armored vehicle emerges a weary old man. While in Bucharest, the army breaks the spirit of the Securitate. In the provincial town of Târgovista, a tribunal is hastily convened. Nicolae and Elena still hoped they could turn the situation in their favor. They continued to speak in their own defense.
It is a lie that I killed people and made them starve. On the contrary, I built this country. What you are doing here is illegal. This is a farce. I do not recognize your court.
The tribunal was from the start the final act in the regime's downfall. Defense Minister Stănculescu personally selected 3 volunteer soldiers to carry out the execution. On December 25, the Ceausescu were read their sentence. They were charged with genocide, attacking their people, and destroying the state. The entire process lasted no more than 90 minutes. According to the judge's ruling, they deserved the highest form of punishment, execution. Last request of Ceausescu not to have his hands tied was denied. But his wife's plea was heard. Elena requested they be executed together, not separately. What followed happened in an instant. The cameraman documenting the trial and execution barely had time to adjust his equipment.
We fired from automatic rifles. I released 29 bullets. In 3 bursts. The first hit his knees, the second in the chest. The third burst was for Elena. He got what he deserved. I still believe that.
The execution spared Romania from a prolonged civil war. Though the country is still recovering from the crisis brought on by the policies of the Red Emperor, the Balkan Stalin, the genius of the Carpathian, Nicolae Ceausescu.